Hey guys, Valdi here from Road to Nowhere, and now we are on to job number 3 for the GS 1150. In previous episodes, we tackled the cluster lights. We replaced all those bulbs with LED ones. You can check out that video over here. And we also inspected the top shock mount for that telelever front shock to see what that rubber bushing looks like. Sometimes I get a bit of a clunky noise from the front end if we are going over heavier terrain, heavier obstacles. So that seemed to be fine. Now we're going to tackle the exhaust. When I bought the bike, the catalytic converter box thing at the bottom was already removed. They had a wide pipe 2-in-1 already installed, and I've always wanted something with a bit more of a throatier, deeper sound to make the 1150 not sound like a sewing machine. They've got that clunky kind of engines in any case, but with the stock exhaust, it just sounds terrible. It doesn't sound like an 1150 twin, it just sounds like a sewing machine. So I've seen an option where it's possible, because I had the exhaust off before, took the end plate off and I couldn't really see anything. I just put it back together and put it up and that's it. You know, I'm not going to spend like 10-12 grand on a slip-on exhaust. It doesn't justify the cost for the price of the bike. But now I think there is a way. So we're going to test it out and see if it's doable, and I'm going to take you along for the ride. So let's see what we can find out. Alright, so first things first is we are going to have to remove that hanger bolt over there, and also the bracket mounting shield thingy over here. I want to check if I can remove that in any case, because my side stand keeps knocking it into there and it doesn't go all the way up. So as soon as you go through a ditch, that side stand comes down a little bit. I think it's only there in there, I can't remember exactly, but yeah, we are going to tackle it quickly and see if we can get this stuff off. I can't remember how I installed it the last time. I installed some rubber bushings and washers and all kinds of things to help with the vibration and the exhaust, just to tighten it up. So let's get our tools together and let's get stacking. I almost forgot the most important thing, and that is to do a sound check before we attempt to modify the exhaust. Just not too bad, not too great either. Let's see. Okay, so this plate here is loose so long. It's just got a small bracket at the back that you undo. The biggest issue I have is over here. I struggled big time the last time that I installed the exhaust to get that nut in on the back. You've got no space in there. It's a really stupid design. So yeah, I'm just going to struggle a little bit further to see if I can get that off. Once that is off, I'll slide the exhaust off and we'll continue the video there. I don't want to bore you with my swear words and me struggling for 20 minutes to get this bolt off. So I'll get back to you once it's off. Can I at least might just have to let's try and open a bit. Holy shit. There you go. Stack. Okay. That is it. So the plan is as follows. Remove those bolts for the hanger bracket, remove the end plate, and then the whole assembly should just slide out in theory. So I'm going to set it up on the workbench and then we'll take it from there. I'm just going to clean it up a little bit beforehand. It's super dirty. All right, let's see once we're up on the bench. I've just loosened up the bolts for this hanger mount because they are quite stuck. Means you don't have to listen to me grunt. So in theory, if we take this bracket off and the end plate, then this whole assembly should just slide out. Let's see if it works that way. Is if we cut it along this weld, you can take the end piece out. So basically the end piece has got this exit hole, it's got a short exit pipe. What happens is your exhaust runs in through there. It's got a loop that it loops back in through with a plate there around about, I think. It loops it back through, so it makes a 180-degree turn, another 180-degree turn, then comes back this way like that, comes back out this way, and then that pipe slots in there. So if we take this out, sorry, not a pipe, so it's got a pipe coming in, and then basically there's a plate that forces the gas to go directly back into the other pipe. That pipe makes another bend, then comes out there. This tailpipe outlet slots in there with a little piece inside there. So if we open that up, pull this section out, we can cut that piece that slots in out, and then you've got a straight through chamber, so the gas will basically go there and out and not through all the pipes connecting and back out. Hope it makes sense. Didn't explain it very well, but that's the theory. So we're going to cut this open. The guys are kind of saying use a hacksaw blade. I'll see if the hacksaw blade works, otherwise we'll just take a grinder and lightly grind through that weld. Cool, let's see how it goes. All right, so after like a struggle that felt like an eternity, eventually the end is off. We're going to weld it all back together, so don't stress about that. It took a bit more persuasion to get out, but that's essentially the only packing material that you have in the exhaust. So that little bit there, so that's the end cap where the end cap bolts onto. Just see. Like that. That's your tip that comes up. So all we're going to do now is we're going to cut that sucker off there as close as we can, and I'll show you what the inside of the exhaust looks like. So that's the tail section. This is the front with a really bad cut. I don't know, I'll just sneak it in with a GoPro. So to your right, that is the exhaust inlet side. Then it's basically just like that. goes in like that. So exhaust inlet into the backing plate, goes through there, back out through this pipe, and then out. So if we bypass that, we cut the pipe off, we can have straight airflow out. That's the plan. While we've got the canister off, let's just see what it sounds like without the canister. I don't want to scare our old Dane outside. It might be massive. Back for day 2 on the GS exhaust modification, and the reason for the delay was that I had to go ask my neighbor across the road, Willem, to fix my horrendous welds with his fancy MIG welder. So I've got some grinds to clear up, and the reason for that is I've got a little inverter stick welder and I'm not a good welder at all, and my bad trade is, my toxic trade is that I think that I can weld, but I really cannot. So instead of fixing it, I just blew holes, and instead of stopping where the first hole was blown, I was like, no, I can really fix this. I just ended up blowing holes all around the pipe. So he's graciously fixed that up for me. I've got some welds to ground down, and once that is done, we'll get back to assembly and we'll see if we can get this exhaust fitted up again and see what it sounds like. So stick around. Alright, so the exhaust is back together. I didn't want to bore you with a whole long section of me reassembling the whole thing and running out of vocabulary. I have repainted that end cap a little bit. The hanger bracket is back on. Got a little bit of that dent out where I could actually reach it from the inside, and reassembly was a whole lot easier than taking this whole thing apart. So will it make a difference? I don't know. Let's fit it and see what it sounds like. If it's not that much difference, it's not so much of a train smash, it's the stock standard exhaust, and it was worth a shot. So let's put it back on and do a sound check. Right, so if you made it this far into the video, you'll realize things did not go as planned. The custom DIY exhaust modification was a huge mistake, or a huge stuff up, and that's not because it didn't work, just because of my inability to weld properly, and that caused a whole lot of other drama. So trying to reopen that exhaust and put a bit of perforated pipe in there and a bit of packing resulted in that exhaust being completely trashed. So this is where we sit at the moment. It meant that I had to put a whole new exhaust on it, and my wife graciously also then, as an early birthday gift, gifted me with this really cool Barker exhaust. So I'll start the bike up now and show you some close-up videos, but it sounds freaking amazing. And this is a cold startup. Everything's ice cold. So there you have it. The custom exhaust is on, the DIY exhaust is off, but I still think it's a worthwhile project for somebody that can weld better than myself and is willing to tackle it. It's not that difficult of a job. And yep, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it makes sense. If you have any questions about that exhaust modification, let me know. If you need more info on the Barker exhaust, feel free to leave us a comment and we'll send you their details. Back to the video. Alright, the exhaust is on. Excuse my puffy red eyes. It's a day after we had Zena put down. So yeah, keeping busy. Anyway, the exhaust is on. Let's do a sound test. Yeah, I hope it's not too loud. I don't know quite what to expect, if it's going to make such a massive difference, and if it actually is going to be too loud. I can't see that a small little tube like this makes a massive difference, but let's fire it up. That's quite a bit louder than I expected. I don't know if we're gonna have a problem. I might have to go test ride it and see if it's super loud and annoying. It's not what I want. I just want something with a bit more growl, a deeper, richer sound. I suspect it might have to come off again and maybe put a little baffle thingy in there, not a straight connected pipe, maybe a perforated pipe or something. Yeah. Well, you never know until you try it. It was a free mod, it didn't cost me anything. It might just be a case of taking it off, cutting it open, and putting a small perforated pipe in there. But there you go. Yeah. Looks standard, doesn't sound standard. Let me know what you think. Do you think it's too loud? Does it need to go a bit softer? I'll do some riding videos later on when the weather's better. Put the GoPro on the helmet, and we'll see what it sounds like. I don't know. I think it's a bit too loud. I think it's going to be annoying on these longer kind of distance highway trips. And I don't want to be that annoying rider in town with a super loud exhaust. But yeah, let's go ride it and we'll see. Cool. Thanks for sticking around.